Hey, how's it going, everybody? I see we have people in the queue already. Awesome. Let me see who we have here. Suveran says hi. That looks like a new name I haven't seen before. So welcome. Rich Will. Hi, on a non-repair panel going for primer that's been base clear and going solid, would you 80 or 180? I think you asked me about this earlier separately on the other live stream. And I mentioned about that. If the clear was good, about just kind of using a lesser aggressive grit, but there's nothing wrong with going to 80 and taking it down and working your way up from there with the primers. So I don't know if that truly answers your question, because it's a little complicated whenever you're going over base clear. And, without the history of it, clear coat will break down over time. And so, that's kind of a tough one to give you a good straight answer for. But typically, like when we did collision work, if you had fresh clear that had cured, dried out over a period of days, and it had some sort of issue, you could sand it and just shoot paint right back over it, because clear coat acts as a fantastic sealer. I don't know if people know that or not, but it's a really great sealer. But anyway, without knowing the condition, I can't give you the perfect answer. All right, we got Phil, Jerry, let's see, Brandon Reisinger. Howdy. Andrew's here, Grease Rookie. Hope you had a good time off with your wife. I know you said you were going, I forget where you said you were going. You're going on a trip. I know that much. Leonard's here. Chuck Fleming, glad you're here. Let's see, Bob. Yes, we had a good time at the lake. I will say that. Let's see. Oh, we've got more showing up. Yeah, we had a good time at the lake. We had two of our kids come, and our youngest son and our daughter, who was the youngest of the three, and she brought two of her friends with her, and we just hung out, cooked out, swam on the lake, had a good time, and did a little hanging out with some friends who also live in that area. So it was good. LD, glad you're here. Harvey, Rally Cat Garage, glad you're here. Wally of the North. We're going to have Wally on in a little bit. Wally's got some updates on his 68 convertible up in Canada. If you haven't seen, he had one of the Viewers Projects videos. And so I'm going to have him on here. He's going to talk about some things going on with his Mustang project. Resto Alcy, good morning from Australia. All right. Emil's here. Aiden, let's see, how do I say? Aiden Frey Jr., glad you're here. Ron Koch, hope all is well. Ron Cook. Oh, Cook, I'm glad you put, okay. Because I would have said Koch. I think anybody would have said Koch. But if you pronounce it Cook, it's good for me. Joseph Dillman's here. Willie Woods, I tried to contact you. Yeah, I think you had sent the let me see here. Willie Woods, you tried to contact. How did you try to contact me? Here's the question. Oh, on the 56 Chevy truck. How did you try to contact me? Did you email me, or did you send it on Facebook? I mean, I've had a few people contact me about that truck, so I'm not sure what you used to make contact, but anyway. So let me back up a little bit. Last week, okay, you sent it on email. I'd have to go back and search that out and see if I can find it. 68 Stang, Reese is here. Glad you're here. Let me see what that says. Because is it under Willie Woods? Is that the email you're using? Oh, okay, LD. You commented on my Facebook today, Barry. Thank you. I'm the one doing the 67 Mustang convertible with the Brooklyn Pony treatment. Cool. Yeah, I looked at that, and I think if you, if I remember, you're building it like individual pieces. You're even going a step further and not using a full pan. You're building it from pieces and parts. So that's my understanding anyway. Okay. Well, I'll have to try to find that and see if I missed something or if it went somewhere else. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to, oh boy, big thunder. I'm going to send a link to Wally, and it might be a little bit before I get him on, but we will have him on, and he wants to talk about his project and how it's going and what he's got going on. Yeah, I'll have to look that up, Willie. I get lots of emails, and I'm not to make any kind of big excuse, but I get lots and lots of emails, lots of messages. I even get random messages from people who don't even know who I am. But as I try to keep up with lots and lots of things, sometimes stuff gets missed, so I apologize. Okay. Well, let's see. I don't know where that would be. Let me just do a quick. Oh, okay. Okay. So you sent me. Oh, I see. Yeah, you talked about you have a white truck. Yeah. Sorry about that. So it says, when did you send this? That was a while ago. That was back in October. Sorry. I don't even know. I can email you back. We'll have to. We'll see what we can do. I don't know that I can actually do any of the alignment stuff on your truck or not, but we can talk about it. Let's see. Joseph. So this whole week I've been doing body work. What grip of sandpaper do you use? Do you finish your filler in? How forgiving is 2K primer at covering up sanding marks? Well, that's a good question. You're going to have different answers for that. Normally, when I start doing body work or sanding body filler, I use that 100 grit paper. I'll go to 180 and sand it out, get the scratches down. 2K will build pretty good. I mean, you put several coats of that on, and it'll fill most scratches. Now, what you could do is go to 180, 80 or 100, 180. You could go up 320 or something like that if you just want to take some more of the scratches out or make them shallower. But 2K usually does a really good job of filling in that stuff. So that's what I know. So hopefully that helps. Let's see. Leonard, Century plus 10 here. Wow. That's hot. That's real hot. I don't envy you. Now we had it was like in the 90s at the lake. But it had some storms kick up, but it was still good. Let's see. Yeah, you're right, Guido. The emails may be there. Yeah, I don't know. It's just tricky, I get all kinds of stuff. Okay. Well, we'll see what we can do, Willie. I know it's. I mean, I can at least talk to you about it, but I can't promise doing anything to the truck. It's just really tough to try to. I know the truck you're showing me pictures of. You're talking about alignment issues and that sort of thing. The difficulty with any of that, I think that truck is, if I remember right, if the pictures are showing it's already painted. That's really hard to deal with sometimes, stuff that's already been done. And we'll talk about it some more. I don't know what the status was, like if it was painted and everything was in alignment when they painted it, or if they panel painted things and didn't have things assembled and lined up correctly to begin with. There's just a lot of variables, and some of that you can't deal with after it's been painted. And that's why I hesitate to even consider, doing something with it, because you mess it up, you can mess up the paint, you can mess up a lot of things. And that's where, okay, so you're going to get it repainted. Okay. I see that now. All right. Okay, we'll see here. Sergio, I'm in Mexico City. I have a Chevy Nova 77. Cool. Mexico City checking in. Good. Joseph Dillman. I also got the brakes with the Woodwood master cylinder hooked up, working, new cable clutch installed, and new exhaust hooked up. It sounds so good. Awesome. Give you a bell for that. And you said you posted a video? Yeah, okay. So we'll have to have a look at that. And I'm trying to remember, is that and I don't want to get confused. I'm trying to look at the picture. That's your car in the picture? All right, let's see. How many coats of 2K should I shoot? Yes. Without knowing the status of the car, probably at least 3. Good coats. 4 is fine. Not going to hurt it. So at least 3. Boondocker just had a nasty thunder rain. Yeah, it's making a bunch of noise outside. Oh, this is a new name. Crucato funelaria. How's that? Did I say that right? Crucato funelaria. That's my guess. I don't know if that's correct or not, and I don't know. Boa noite, is that good night? I'm just guessing. I don't know. Okay, so windstorm blew through southwest New York State. All right, so we got Bob Dumleo, Phoenix, Arizona, working on a 67 Mustang Coupe Resto Mod, 2012 Boss 302, Mustang 2 front suspension, short 2000 Explorer. Nice. You're putting some work into that. Yeah, don't want to stone track water in the house. Okay. So I wouldn't mind seeing that video, Joseph. If you want to, I don't think you could post the link here, but is it under Joseph Dillman? Is that the YouTube channel we want to look up to see that? Okay, so we have Frey. I don't want to guess at that name. Hey Barry, how would you go about restoring the interior quarter trim corner panel on a fastback car? Paint prep. Interior quarter trim corner panel. That's a really tough question. Normally, if you're trying to keep the texture and everything in there, corner trim, you're gonna have to go with the single stage type of paint to not fill in the texturing. Now as far as cleaning it out and stuff like that, that's going to be a tougher situation. People have tried different things. But I don't have an easy answer for that. I haven't messed with a bunch with, or haven't really messed with any of the fastback stuff as of yet, but somebody else may have some answers to put on here as well. All right, so we have Bob Dumleo. Been following you for 3 years. I'll give you a bell for that, Bob. Thank you. I've got Wally queued up over here. He's getting ready. Yeah, you're gonna have a sanding party. Good idea. Just make sure they know what they're doing. Arthur, you may have seen my vid, Lisa the 67 Fastback on YouTube. I may have seen it. The name sounds familiar. I'm pretty sure I've seen it. Let's see, Guido. Yeah, kind of material looking finish. my quarter panel's faded also. Okay. All right. So I'm going to pull Wally up, and Wally's going to talk about his project. So let's have a look at Wally. Wally.
Everybody can see
say
me
something.
and hear me okay?
I can now. Yeah.
Okay, no, just making sure. The browser originally blocked both my camera and my microphone, so it took me a while to figure the permissions out.
Okay.
So,
well, good.
but we're good to go.
So how's it going?
It's actually going really well. I think in my last update, I had mentioned I wasn't really going to start working on the body until the fall, and that's what I'm going to stick with that plan.
Yeah.
Because right now, and I can assume it's hotter where you are, but right now it's mid-30s here in Marmara, and that is equates to about 94 degrees Fahrenheit. So it's a warm day.
Yeah.
The only good news is this garage is insulated, so it's kept fairly cool, but you'll start seeing the sweat drop off me in a few minutes. So that'll just give you an indication how hot it is up here.
Yeah. So what are you getting done?
Okay, so I've got 3 things I want to talk about. You know, I'll probably take 5 or 6 minutes, and we'll keep this interactive with the group because everybody out there is in the same position I am, right? They're mid-project. They're just trying to figure out how to get things, and you know, you want to make things a little nicer as well while you're doing this. And I ran across a few things, and I'm going to be showing that in a few minutes, that I thought I really got lucky with, and that's something else. But one thing I wanted to mention, and this is something we had talked about earlier, is the brake lines. When I did this car, I ordered the brake lines, and nothing wrong with the brake lines. They were beautiful brake lines. The problem was this was an automatic car, and this was a non-power brake car. So by me converting it to not only power brakes, but also converting it to a manual, the lines I bought simply didn't work. So what I ended up doing is going on the internet, and I found some 3/16 stainless steel. But this stuff's got what's called molybdenum. I've never heard of molybdenum. But molybdenum.
Wait, it's actually molybdenum.
Oh, molybdenum. Okay, it's Canadian. That's the Canadian. It's molybdenum in Canada. Okay, so it's
molybdenum. Molybdenum.
But I tell you, not only can you do the double flare really easy with it, because it actually crushes square, and then you can do the double flare. But literally, I can do that with it, and you'll have to take my word for it, but that did not kink. So this stuff remained beautifully round. I can take it and go around corners with it. And again, like I said, it's stainless steel with that molybdenum, and this is what I did. So I did the whole car, the brake line, from the front all the way to the back, obviously, and the brake lines that go to the front left and the front right. So I redid them all. That way there I could hide it all better. I routed it nicer. That was the best way to go for me.
Okay, well, what was the name of the company you found that?
Well, I mean, I can get it for for everybody. I can send you a list of it, but this was Amazon. I simply looked for 3/16 stainless steel, and this came up 3/16 stainless steel, but it had that molybdenum. I like molybdenum. I can say that better. But like I said, I was impressed with this stuff, and it like I said, I can't kink it unless I really fold it over. But you can make a beautiful line. I've got it all laid out in front. But like I said, so I really just wanted to stop at this part of the car because, as I said to everybody earlier, it's a little too hot to be working up here now on body work and doing the panel. So I'm going to leave the body work until the fall. But I did run across a couple of things. Don't know if your viewers are interested or they want to ask any questions, but it's about the 289.
Well, you can talk about whatever you want.
Okay, so let's swing the camera around. I hope I don't give anybody motion sickness while I do that.
Nope, you're good.
But I've spun it around, so now we're looking. So here's the 289 block. It's actually the original engine. I got my serial number, the VIN number stamped into the back over here. But there was a couple of things that I learned about this engine that when I took it apart that, some good, some bad news. The good news is this is an unaltered engine. It had 89,000 miles on it. So in Canada, that's like 120,000 kilometers. The cylinders were absolutely glazed, but they weren't bad. But what I did is I, of course, went out and got a bore gauge, and I've already set it to 0. So it's set at 0 when I take it to 4 inches. So if I put it in the bore and actually run it across, you're not going to see it. But I get this actually sits at 0. But when I swing it vertically and run it, it actually is about 0.003 of an inch shy. Now, why is that? Because the engine has a plane, and the crank is running this way, and the pistons are running up and down in the cylinder bores. And what ends up happening is on a pressure stroke, it actually exerts pressure on the lip of the cylinder bore. I get my hand out of the way, sorry about that. Yeah. Down here. So it actually makes the cylinders oval over time. Now, I'm 3 to 4,000 out of round on most of these cylinders. So it got me thinking, you know, I was thinking of turning this into a full roller engine. You know, obviously I don't want to use exotic oils, and I don't certainly want to have to add anything to the engine as far as the heads, and I'll get to the heads in a minute, as far as, you know, lead. But I thought to myself, well, you know, I can just clean it up and use it. So I went out and bought one of these guys. Everybody's seen one of these. Now there's 2 styles. You've got this kind here, which is the flat stone, about 180 grit, or you can get the ones where it's a bunch of balls. And I see those all the time, right? And you run the balls up and down, and it deglazes the cylinders. In fact, it did a great job. It deglazed my cylinders beautifully. I think they're a wonderful job. But now that they're all cleaned out and I'm getting that 3,000th problem, I'm thinking I got to get this engine machined. So I phoned a machine shop. They charge $50 per cylinder to hone them. So of course I can take it 20 over, 30 over. I can do whatever I want to do. But like I said, these are original 4-inch bores. I've already measured them. So when I'm thinking that I'm going to take this thing 30 over, I might as well think about pistons. Because another thing that I found out about the 1968 289 is they didn't want to compete with the 1968 302, so they pulled a bunch of compression out of this engine. This engine has actually got a flat top on the piston, so this guy only runs about 8.5 to 1 compression ratio, where in 1967, just the year before, you were in the 9s. It was like 9.2. And if you even go back further, like 1966 to, you know, the 65s, they were running actually almost 9.8 to 1. So they got a lot more horsepower out of these things. So I'm thinking, if I put this back together with these flat top pistons, I'm already 3,000th over. I'm going to get this machine, which means new pistons. And if I'm going to get new pistons, I might as well start thinking about compression ratios and trying to get this engine to maybe get a little bit more, you know, almost make it like a hypo, right? A 289 hypo, get it up into the high 9s, maybe low 10 compression, put a little bit of a lumpier cam in it. The cam that was in it is a nondescript. This is not a Ford cam. I have no idea where this cam came from. The only identifying mark on it is a number 32. So when I look up the number 32, and anybody out there who's a big fan of 42, but not the answer to the world, 32 is, this is a cam out of a Windsor, which means this has the change sequence on the cylinder firing order. It actually changes. I think it's, I don't know which one it is, Barry, if you can help me on that one, but
I don't know either.
Cylinders so that it runs a little differently. Your firing order changes because it changed the lobes on that cylinder with a different one. So it's got a weird cam I don't know anything about. And now finally the heads. So these are 1975 302 heads. So these are smog heads. So I thought, okay, well, at least being 75 heads, I don't need unleaded because they're hardened, right? Because in 70, I think it was 71, 72 unleaded came. The auto manufacturers had to put hardened seats, exhaust seats in, or hardened exhaust seats in them. And so I've got that part licked. But then it turned out this was a smog head, and I thought, well, okay, it's a smog head, you know, that's going to steal horsepower, because inside of the exhaust valve or the exhaust output on a smog head, there's a huge bump in here, and that was for smog emissions. It was to actually, I forgot what but it actually hindered the exhaust flow which meant there was more back pressure in the engine, which meant it produced less pollution. And that was kind of, I guess, the way they did this, right? Less exhaust out, less pollution out, I assume. Well, somebody's already been in here with a Dremel. This has all been flattened out. So if I take this and I compare this with a picture with a 1975 head, mine's been machined. And then the second thing that's really weird, it has double springs in the thing. So he must have got these heads off of a Performance 302, because it's obviously, you can see it's got screwed in studs, right? It's got the valve guides, or the push rod guides are in it. So I've got a bit of a Frankenstein here.
Yeah.
I've got 75 heads, but I've got, it's been machined, obviously. So I'm thinking, gonna get it sent out, 30 over, new pistons. Obviously, I'm gonna keep the connecting rods and my crank the same. I'm not gonna go to a 302 crank, and I'm not gonna go to a 302 rod. I figure what I'll do this way here is I'll just keep the stroke the same, and I don't have to worry too much then about, you know, having a collision between my piston and my valve train, as long as I keep the cam normal. And obviously I got to replace the cam as well, because like I said, I have no idea where that cam came from, you know, what it's
Right.
But that's where I am on the motor. So my only problem is I can't buy parts. Usually when I go buy parts, I go pick them up myself. I cross the border, I go down to Summit or go to Jags or something like that, but no can do. So this looks like the motor is going to be a fall project as well once they open the borders up. And you can already tell now I'm starting to perspire a bit. Apologies to everybody out there. But yeah, it's probably got to be about 80 degrees in my workshop.
Yeah. That's
So
plenty.
I don't know if there was any questions on the motor or anything before I head over to show you the other thing I was working on.
One of the comments from Eric McGinnis, he points out 3,000 isn't a whole lot. It just borders on needing work. You know, I mean, you could get by with that, but
I could, and he's absolutely correct. But I was thinking to myself, you know, this has got, you know, 90,000 miles on it, you know, 80 some odd thousand miles on it. And if I'm going to rebuild this, you know, for me to be able to enjoy for the next, hopefully 20 years or so, you know, and of course it's going to just get worse because it is, you know, 3 thou over on their oval by, you know, 3 thou. 5 thou is the limit. So that's only 2 more thou. And if I do my math in my head, that's only another 60,000 miles. So I figured, you know what I'm going to do is I'm going to bore it and I'm going to change the pistons and I'll do the compression. But you're right. Yeah, I was so close to just, you know, leaving these slugs in it and just getting new rings, you know, and getting all that done. But, you know, I figure for $50 a hole, so that's $400 in machining, you know, get these properly done, get them 40 or 30 over, 20 over. I guess I'll just see what
now, how much are pistons and what kind of pistons are you going to go with? Well,
you know, they always talk about these hyperkinetic piston, and you know, I was just actually on Summit Racing's website, and they, you know, they talk about, they're not that expensive if you're not getting anything really trick. Standard flat tops like this are like, you know, $30 a piece, like relatively inexpensive. If I start to step on them to put a little bit of a pop-up on them, obviously to get my compression back, you know, I'll probably be looking at about $50 a piece. So probably going to be about $450 in pistons. At the same time, you know, I guess I might as well just change the rods while I'm at it. Because I'm going to buy a new crank. You know, it becomes a part of money. I mean, the 289 crank is over there, and it's really not bad. But of course, you've got to machine it, right? You're not going to just put it back in. But the cost of labor to machine that crank is almost the same as a brand new crank, you know, and it gets to the point again, you know, do we machine it or do you just buy a new crank? And now I got a new crank in it and I know all my clearances will be right and all of that. That's kind of where I'm at.
Here's a question for you. Bob Shoemaker's asking, or he wants to know, or he's more interested in what the runout is from top to bottom on the cylinders.
Great question. So you're right. My cylinders are doing this, right? Because the piston doesn't travel all the way to the bottom. So it wears the top more. So if I take a look at this right now, so let's just take a look at the cylinder right here and I'll call out the numbers. So I'm not right at the top because there's always that lip, right? You want to, you know, with piston ring, you don't want to touch that. So if I do this one here, actually, all right, so there I am. So I'm right at 0. So that's exactly 4 inches across that bore. If I now go down to the bottom, I am at minus, I guess, 2.5, minus 3. So,
Okay. So
I
390.
lose 3 going down this way. Or sorry, I'm squishier by 3.
Right.
That's what that's plus 3. I apologize. The wheel's on the other side. So I'm squished closer down there than I am up here. And then again, you're right. The run out that might even be worse now. I never thought of that. So going vertically in the cylinder, there I'm plus 2 on this cylinder. But I go to the bottom. Actually, it's about the same. So that actually stayed pretty true. And that kind of makes sense, I guess, because all of the pressure is exerted on the upper and lower part of the cylinder. So that actually kept pretty true. Where the sides, I guess, I don't know if the cylinder can slap a bit up here or the rings wear it more up here.
Well,
but, like I said, so the run out is it for $50 a cylinder. I think it's
sure. I don't blame you at all. I don't blame you at all. But what you're really seeing that the top and bottom wear, a lot of that is because of the offset of the wrist pin in the piston. When they used to make engines, they were centered. Okay. The wrist pin was centered in the piston. That's why they're indexed. They have a dot facing to the front or to the rear, or whatever. But the wrist pin is offset to relieve piston slap. But in doing so, it also creates more wear because of how the cycle of the connecting rod goes through the cylinder. It's not actually straight up and down. So there should be a dot.
Never even thought to look at that. That's why I just ran off to get a couple of pistons that the con rods are still connected onto them.
Yeah, but there should be
right. Yeah, there's a lot of play in there.
There should be a dot on the top of the piston. When you look at it, there should be a dot at the front or the rear. Usually it's to the front, I think, so that when you put them back on, they're indexed. They all got to face the same direction. And that deals with that offset of the wrist pin. Basically, your piston, instead of having the wrist pin dead center between the top or the width of the bore, it's offset just slightly so that the piston doesn't clatter, let's say, and make more noise. It was a way to try to reduce noise. So, but there should be a dot somewhere on the top.
There probably is, but there's so much crap on it.
A little notch, something along those lines.
Yeah. Okay, so that makes sense. So as they sit on the crank, and unless you index this, you're right. This is each one's going to have a slight offset to the other. The opposing side. So that's it for the motor. Like I said, it's in good shape. I don't see any problems with it. Obviously, when the machine shop takes the block in, they're going to magnaflux it and they'll tank it.
Yeah, sure.
But I'm hoping everything's good.
We got a question from Gary Hamlin saying you will want to have you will want to have the heads CC'd to know what the compression ratio is. So if you have the heads reworked, that way they can do the measurement.
Actually, what we did get lucky on these on the heads. There was actually a note on the side of the head, unbelievably, that these are 58 cc heads. So I could either take their word for it, or when I take the heads in, because I didn't know if I was going to do this or not. I watched a few videos on changing out the valve guides, and it looks interesting, but it also looks dangerous.
Yeah. I'm going to let a professional do that.
Use the air gun to drive in the seal, right? And then you got to pull it out, and then you got to ream it because, of course, it's crushed when you slam it in there. So it was kind of, so you're right. And so I will get that. And also, you're right. I got to do a few things. Got to make sure it's flat because if, you overheat these engines, these things warp up. And then the other thing is, I'll probably get somebody to do the valve guides for me just to make sure. And then once we have the heads and we have the block, we're going to have to do some geometry on the rockers and the push rods. So yeah, I was kind of hoping I could do a backyard rebuild, but I'm afraid not.
Yeah. Well, one thing Harvey comments: a set of stock GT40 heads would be a good, inexpensive head that already has hardened valve seats. So
Yeah.
but I think
Well,
you may be in the right ballpark with yours.
Well, this is, like I said, these are 1975 heads. You can see that the stamped right up there. So the heads are okay. They're hardened. It's just that they must have come off something a little bit tricked because, like I said, they had the double valve springs. But this cam, I already used my micrometer or micrometer, what do you want to call it? And I the cam has barely got 3,000. Sorry, a third of an inch lift, like a half an inch or just a little bit less than that. Not even a half an inch, sorry. Less than a half an inch. So like third of an inch lift. So it's not a huge lift cam. So I'm thinking these heads weren't made for that cam because you don't
Very
need
possible.
these dual springs for that low rise cam.
Now, if you're interested, or I don't know what you've researched on the cam or what you're looking for, I did the engine that's in my 68 is actually a 302, and a friend of mine built it for me, and he put in a camshaft that I recorded the specs. So it's in, I think it's in the video I did for the exhaust. So whenever I put the exhaust on that car, and I did a video of this car running so people could hear what it sounded like with that cam.
Okay.
I believe it's in the description or it's pinned as one of the comments, the specs for that particular camshaft. So if you're researching and you're just curious, that might be one you could look into.
Absolutely would. Obviously, lift and duration are where the heads, make the power, right? Power's made in the heads.
Sure.
You got to be able to get the fuel and air in there as fast as possible, and then you got to be able to compress it up and ignite it. So, a good cam would be nice. Obviously, I want to make sure that I don't get any valve collisions. So, don't want to have too much lift on the cam. But I might as well go full roller. I mean, it makes sense now. So I'll get a set of hydraulic rollers. I was going to go, if you go with the solid lifters, every year you got to be in there with the feeler gauges, but I figured I'll just go with hydraulic rollers, and I'll go with roller rockers, and that way there it'll just be a, quiet little, and like you said, a little bit of cam in it. But I might as well do it now, and that way there I can spend the next 20 years driving around and
Sure.
driving a Mustang.
LD comments that his 289 has V notches in the piston facing to the front of the engine. So there should be some sort of little V notch.
Oh, yeah, no, the V notch is there. Well, that's obvious. Yeah, you can see that.
Yeah.
Yeah, so there's an index right on the piston.
Yep. And that would face to the front.
So that would be, so this would either be this side that way, or it would be this side this way.
Now, Wally, I believe even all your connecting rods should be numbered as well.
Oh, and they probably are. But like I said, I was, I took it apart, put it all, and then that's when I got the bore gauge, and I thought, okay, let's see what we're working with. And,
right.
And once I started, it was only about a week ago I started doing this, and I realized, I think it's better off just to replace the slugs in it.
Oh, yeah. I don't blame you. Not at all. Bob is saying if you squeeze the skirts, the piston skirts, and look at the curve at the pin, they crack out of the curved area. So kind of hard to describe that, but I guess he's saying if you squeeze the bottom of the skirt and look at where the wrist pin is going into the piston, he said they develop cracks somewhere in that bottom.
Okay, yeah, and like I said, I haven't really inspected this.
Right.
Yeah, see, I don't know if that's just a mark, or is that a crack, or is that just when they cast these things? I don't know. But yeah, no, again, so it just makes sense. I'll take it to a machine shop. I'll get them to Magnaflux it. I'll get them to tank it. I'll get them to take it 30 over. Might as well.
Sure.
It is a 302 block, like I said, 302 stamp right here, 302 on the heads. But it's the reciprocating. I mean, it's the crank, that's the key. And I'll just, like I said, I'm going to keep it at 289. I'll put the shorter stroke into it. You know, obviously keep the connecting rods the same length. I'd probably just replace them. So, you know what, it's probably going to just be a total rebuild. You know, get all new parts into her and
Sure.
send the heads out, get the block done, and that'll be it. So that'll be my winter project once I can go get parts. Because that was the machine shop did give me one great word of advice. Get your pistons first, he says, because there's going to be differences between, you buy 8 of these guys brand new, and one is going to be 1,000 smaller than the other or whatever. So he said, you get the pistons, we mark the pistons where they're going to go, and then they hone the block to match the piston. Not just take the block 30 over and then buy 8 pistons and hopefully they fit. Right. So that was a great little thing he said. And you know what? He made perfect sense to me. And I said, you know what? You're right. I'm gonna get the parts first, figure out what the parts list are, figure out what kind of compression I want. And like I said, I don't want to have, I want to be able to run on, like, say, like a 92. I certainly don't want to be running like a 94 octane. So if I can run like a 91 or a 90, so I just got to make sure the compression ratio doesn't require me to have to put in an additive into the tank. But I think anything under 10 is pretty safe. I don't know, Barry, if you have any comments on compression ratio and
I don't know for sure. Let's put it that way, because honestly, my background building engines, I'm a lot more familiar with Chevy engines than I am with the Ford engines. And that's one of the reasons why I let my buddy who's familiar with the Ford engines build my Ford engine. Yeah. I didn't want to be.
I had an engine in my past history. It was a 302, but it was an R block, a 302 R code. So that's a 4-bolt main. Had that done with 10 3/4 to 1 on the compression. And unfortunately, if I run anything less than a 92, like an 89 or a 90, even a 91,
right?
Turn the key off and you got to stall the engine with your clutch. You cannot shut that engine off. It'll just run on because all the crap builds up inside of it. I don't know if it's just the compression. It gets it so hot in there that the fuel actually ignites on its own heat under that type of compression. I mean, diesels do that all the time. With the right compression, you don't need a spark with a diesel. They just run on their own. So it's the same thing, and I guess that's why they call it dieseling. But like I said, so I'm going to try to keep it so I can run, if I'm running through the US on the car, just, should be able to get a 90, 91. That should be okay. And, 9 to 1, 9.5 to 1, I think I'll be fine with that compression.
Hot Busa got his hat from the drawing, so he just let me know that. Leonard, he says the cylinder numbers go to the outside, so he's talking about on a connecting rods.
Okay.
It's all indexed. So
yeah, when I pick up the new ones, I'll obviously, once we assign them to the bores, we'll stamp them to make sure we put them in the right bores. I doubt they're going to come from the factory with numbers on them. But we'll get that all sorted out, and we'll make sure we get it in the right bores. And as my machine shop guy said, we've got to get all that first. Get the reciprocating, get the crank, get the rods, get the pistons, and then we can, if we have to index the block, we'll index the block. If we've got a line on it, we'll line on it. But we won't know until we have the parts we want to put together on it. So I really wanted to do this myself. I didn't want to just give it to a machine shop and hand them $5,000.
Right.
But it looks like we're going to have a partnership, and I'm going to, get them to do parts of it. But I'm hoping I can put some of this mass together. The top end, I got no problem with, right? Putting in lifters, putting in, valve train, no problem. But it's, making sure that crank and those pistons and, you've got the offsets and you've got whatever that end play is and all of that. I mean, that stuff, if you screw that up, you're just building a time bomb, and it'll go off one day when you least expect it.
Yeah. In fact, I just saw a video the other day. It was on Facebook. Really nice looking car. It was some sort of I want to say like an LTD, but like a 78 LTD or something like that. So it was, but a super clean car, and it had Mustang 2 suspension under it, had all these trick engine parts, and it was really a nice cruiser. And they commented about how they kept blowing out, or the transmission kept failing, and They had it rebuilt. The guy had it rebuilt like twice. And he brought it back to this other repair shop and said, "Hey, what is going on with my car?" So this repair shop was showing the video, and they started really investigating. They could not get, they said, the torque converter off of the flywheel. They could not get it to like separate. So they started looking, and they took basically a crowbar and wedged it between the crank pulley and the front of the engine, and pushed the crankshaft forward like a good quarter of an inch.
Oh.
And then they went back and got on the frame rail and pushed it back. And they were like, "This is all bad. This is all bad."
That should be a couple of thousand.
Yeah, and that's why I don't mind paying a machine shop to make sure things are right.
But, and that's, and like I said, it was always a dream of mine to rebuild my own motor. I've done so much research on it.
Well, you still can, but let them make sure things are indexed and set.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with you assembling it. And of course, using, when you put your bearings in, you've got to use that crush gauge material to make sure that it's actually gapped right, the tolerance. Have you seen that? I forget what it's called, but it's like a wax that you can put in between the crankshaft and the bearing surface, and you do it and you torque everything down, and then don't rotate anything. You take the bearing caps back off and pull that crankshaft back out, and you can see actually how much or how tight each bearing is on each crank journal. Right. Okay, that's a test gauge. I can't think of the name. Somebody probably knows right here, but it's like a wax material. And whenever you torque it, it'll compress. And then how wide it is tells you how much of a thousandths of gap you have.
That makes sense.
So those are some things you need to think about or understand when you're torquing things together. You don't just put it together and go. You actually put it together and take it apart and check it. And then you put it back together and go. So there's a sequence. Sequence is scored.
You've always said this, Barry, in your videos. You measure 6 times, cut once. That's what I had to do here. And everybody saw the 2 videos I've created.
Yeah.
Like I said, it's you have to assemble it, see if everything fits, take it all apart again, change one little thing, and then you have to assemble everything again. Make sure that little thing you didn't screw something else up. Because when it came to the whole rear end on this car and changing the rear frame rails, there was nothing left to index, right? The back end of the car is gone. So it took forever to try to get all those index points back. But and then why would the engine be any different?
Yep. I've got
nothing left on the engine. I just want to show you that, because you know me, I've always got something going on. Either it's an electric window popping up on you.
Yeah.
But I've got one last thing, and then I can relinquish this in case you have somebody else coming on.
Okay. I'm going to go ahead and make some comments while you're doing that. So who's your garage is checking in? Let's see. Guido is saying 10-1 would be perfect. Okay.
Yeah.
Emil is asking any good videos on leading the sail panels. I don't have that because I don't mess with lead. I take it out, but I don't put it back. Just not my thing. Bob Shoemaker, modern manufacturing has a sizing much closer nowadays. That's true. I'll agree with, where's my bill? I'll agree with you on that. Let's see what else we have. Oh yeah, of course, Leonard points out the connecting rods, it's numerical order, as you go down the line. Joseph Dillman, so with 58cc heads, you're going to need dished pistons out of a 2V289 or 302 to get around a 9-to-1 compression with a 58cc head. So there may be some information there for you.
No, that is good because, like I said, knowing the CC. So, like I said, I got 58cc heads. That'll allow me then to figure out what type of piston I need to be able to compress that to get to my, like I said, little under 10-to-1. I think I'll be happy with that. That'll put the performance back into this engine. Like I said, I think what Ford ended up doing is in 1968, they had so many engine choices. They didn't want to have a 289 being, 200 something horsepower, and then the 302 being, 200 and,
Right.
plus, or 300 horsepower. So they pulled the power out of the 289, and by putting in those pistons, like I said, eight and a bit to 1.
Yeah, I have an answer for you. That is called Plastigage. So I think Hoosier was the first one to respond. He gets a bell, but I've had others respond. Harvey, Kevin, Joseph Dillman is saying, what is Plastigage? So Plastigage is the product for the testing of the gap between the bearing surface and the crank or the bearing. So Plastigage. I knew it, but I just couldn't get it off the back of my head.
No problem.
So go ahead. What else do you have going on?
So, all right. So my wife and I both share driving responsibilities. My wife loves driving the car. She used to drive my 68 back in, late, 70s there. So I thought, to make it nicer for her, I'll go to a record and I'll pick up a couple of bucket seats and I'll cannibalize them and I'll put in, power slide, right? A power slide. But I also wanted, and let me just swing over to you and show you, but I also wanted a headrest. Because what I'm going to do is I'm going to incorporate the headrest. Oop, I forgot the way this camera works.
You're
I'm going to
okay.
incorporate the headrest into the standard Mustang seat. So I figured, okay, I'm going to need the structure to do that. So I go to the wrecker and I say, I just want a couple of cheap bucket seats. And, I got to love my wrecker up here where I live. But I go in and I find these two seats waiting for me. They're out of a Lincoln MKZ. They are 8-way power. They're heated and air conditioned. Now, I can't use any of that. I wish I could. But the reason I can't use any of that is because when we take a look now at the original, now this is the original seat out of the car. And of course I have the new interior in the house. But this is not, it's not perforated. There's no holes in this. But the fabric that came on the Lincoln MKZ seats is all perforated. And that allowed these fans here, which are really cool, but I had to take them out. But these fans were mounted in the seat and they blew cold air up in through the ducting, and it would heat your, or cool your bum and would cool your back while you're driving. I can't use these. But after about 2 hours of pinning this sucker out, because this seat is a memory seat as well, which means you get into this car and you press a button and this seat will adjust all of those 8 ways bending on you. And I thought, wow, that would be great for my wife because she doesn't stand 6 feet tall. So I couldn't do it. Apparently there's another module in the door of the car that controls part of the seat. And when you press that memory button, it also moves your mirrors and it moves a bunch of other things as well. So I ended up just getting to the point where at least I've been able to get the controls working. So I have lumbar support. I don't know if you can see the lumbar moving on the back, so I'll be able to get the lumbar moving up and back on that. It has the seat can now lift and back. You can see the seat going back and forth. I can go take that, so I can tilt it up in the back, tilt it down in the back. I can move the thing forward, move the thing backwards, and then of course I can go up in the front and up in the and down in the front. So this gives me those 8 ways. It's heated, but I don't need heated seats in the Mustang. I'll get enough heat. So I've disconnected the heated seats. I've taken out the cooling system on it, but I got the seat working. So now I have a fully operational seat that goes up and down. It goes, tilts back and forth. It moves forward and back. The seat has a power back, because when my wife drives, she loves to have the seat supporting her back. She drives like this. Me, I'm more of the laid back, old boy kind of guy, and so. But this seat doesn't do nothing, right? It locks, and there you go, and that's it. That's the full motion.
Yeah.
So now, how do I take that and put it onto that? Initial measurements aren't bad. From the bottom of the rail here to the top of the seat is 8 inches. The bottom of the rail here to the top of the seat is about 8.5, 9 inches. So it's reasonable. I think that, with a little bit of work on the foam and take some of the foam from here, put it over there, I can build it out. The back, though, is too tall. Unfortunately, if you measure the back, this is shorter than that is, obviously. So I'm thinking I'll just cut here in the middle, drop this down, and then that way there I can still put the seat in. And of course, the headrest just comes apart. You can just pull the headrest off and take the leather off. And then I'll just, get some of the material from my seats and make a new headrest for it. So I'll have headrests because, you get rear-ended in a Mustang, and I tell you, there's nothing there to protect your neck. And at 62 years old, I don't think I'll recover from a neck injury. So we got that working. The only other thing I'm thinking of doing, and this is another option, is they sell a shoulder belt for this car, and it bolts. You have to bolt it onto the it's a C-pillar, like on the back of the door up at the top. There's a hole there, you put it in. But I was going to steal an idea from my wife's car. It has this cool thing where the seatbelt comes up and then it goes, there's an arm, and then the seatbelt passes through the arm. So when you sit down, it's on this, but when you grab the seatbelt, it comes up like that. So what'll happen is it'll lift the seatbelt so it goes over your shoulder, because I think the way the car is now, I think the seatbelt will be coming across my arm rather than over, right? Because it's low, right? I mean, it's not like it's coming from a high point, like this shoulder belt. So I'm going to see if I can figure out a way to get it so I can put the shoulder belt coming through the seat.
I got you.
So that so it's over my shoulder. So if I ever hit anything, I've got a seat belt. Because the only advantage of the 68 is they put the steering shaft is a 2-piece unit nowadays, so that it'll actually not impale you when you're into an accident.
Right.
But I think I would prefer to have a seat belt to stop me
from
hitting my steering wheel anyways. So, guys, as I said, there's always something I'm foodling around with, and this is it here, these crazy seats.
Yeah.
But if I can get lumbar support onto one of these and have power and have, I think that would be a great thing for my wife.
Yeah, I agree. Got me thinking while you're doing that. I'm trying to envision what I could do different, because I'm 5'10" and my wife is 5'3", and if she decides to drive that car, it might be a bit of a challenge for her to reach the pedals.
Well, yeah. And I trying to get the right height. I mean, the good news I have is because now this seat goes up and down, the perch that's in the car, if you cut 3 sides of the perch, you could actually drop the perch so that, I can lower this seat into the car and then bring the seat up when necessary.
Yeah.
As opposed to this being a fixed height, fixed declination, right? Because that perch is on an angle, the seat goes on it on an angle. So when you sit on this seat, you're leaning back anyways.
Yeah.
So.
Well, the next thing you'll be putting adjustable pedals in, right?
Yeah. That would be that. No, no, that's not happening.
Here's a question for you. 68 Stang. It appears the Mustang is sideways in your garage. I think he sees.
It is. I made some room so I could stage what we're doing here. If you want, I'll let you guys go, but I'll take you for a tour. So obviously, I was working over here. This is where the seats are. There's the other one. My compressor's behind there. You can't see it. There's my wall of stuff. All the parts, and then of course there's the motor sitting there, and of course the welder and the other head and all my other parts are over on the corner. And then as I swing it back further, so there's the car now sitting sitting sideways, and then of course there's my workshop and my workbench.
Now, have you been making any?
I got them on the rollers. You can see the rolly things here. I mean, these are fantastic.
You froze on me. You froze on me. Uh-oh. You're frozen. I don't know what happened. I'm going to pull him off.
I didn't hear you.
Oh, I said you froze on me. We couldn't see what you were doing.
Is that better?
Yeah, you're fine. But
no, I'm just saying, am I back now? Am I okay?
Yeah, you're here. You're back. Yeah.
Okay.
But have you
Yeah, no, so like I said, yeah, I just put it sideways, get it out of the way.
have you started making any videos for your YouTube channel?
You know, I really have no personal interest in my own YouTube channel. I see how much
Okay.
work you put into it, my friend, and I'll be honest with you. You know, I'm not worthy. I'm going to just do what I do. I've been recording this. I recorded me taking the engine apart. I recorded me honing the cylinders, thinking I was doing a wonderful job until I realized it was a waste of time.
Yeah.
I recorded me creating double flares. I recorded my doing the brake line. So I will be putting an update video together and put all that together. But if you're okay with that, my friend, you can put it on your site.
I'm fine with that. I'm fine with that. Yeah.
Yeah, because I would have 3 videos now after 6 months. I don't think I'd get too many subscribers at that.
It's all about the content.
Well, I hope the content has been useful. Like I said, you know, all I would recommend is if you're going to go to a wrecker to buy some seats that you want to cannibalize, you know, don't get 8-way because this chair has a computer underneath, and the computer actually drives the servos. So that switch that I was pressing is really a micro switch. So I can't bypass that. I need that computer to run the seats. But the problem is that the main power that comes in just operates the motors. So you got to figure out which wires actually operate the computer. And then which wires are the wires that run the memory and things like that. Because if you screw those guys up, you can blow the computer up. So luckily enough, now I've got it to the point where it's a manual seat, no memory, but it's still using the computer. Okay. So the last thing I'm going to do is the computer takes power. So one thing I've ordered, and it's going to come Friday, is a power delay switch. So when you open up the door of the Mustang and the interior lights come on, it's going to throw a 30-second or 60-second, I haven't figured out how long, timer. That timer will maintain power, which will then power the seats, power the roof. So all I got to do is open the door and it'll run. So I can, you know, open the door and put the roof up, like pull the switch to put the roof without having to put the key in.
Oh, wow.
And then after 30, and it'll keep the interior lights on. So when you get into the car at night and you close the door, the interior lights will stay on like a modern car, right? They'll stay on for 30 seconds while you're trying to get the key in the ignition and start the car.
See, that'll be a great update.
Oh yeah, so yeah, that's coming in, but I have to redo my wiring harness. I'm changing, obviously, because I'm putting so many power things in. I can't use the original fuse box. There's simply not enough circuits, and at the end of it all, I can't run all of this power equipment through my key. Right. So what I've got to do is I'm going to actually run a separate wire from the battery into the car. I'm going to cut my old fuse box off and replace it with a modern fuse box that has got a switchable fuse box, which means part of the fuse box is live all the time, which in these cars they are. You put the brakes on and the lights come on even though you don't have the key, so there's always power. But then other part of this fuse box only works when the key is on accessory or when it's on run, right? And it's different. If it's on accessory, I think not everything works as it would if it was on run. Ignition being one of those things.
Right.
I have to make it so the fuse box does that as well. So when it's on accessories, or if it's on run, or if there's no key at all, I have to be able to energize those circuits. So yeah, no, that'll be a video. I'll put that one on too as soon as I get it, but I got to do the fuse panel first, or the fuse box next. Okay.
Well, very good.
Well, listen, everybody, thank you, Barry, once again for everything you've done. I wouldn't be where I was without you anyways. And thanks for your group for all of your information. I love that stuff. So yeah, I'll take a look at the I'll take a look at the heads, make sure that you're right. We'll verify those. We'll verify the block. We'll get the block done. You know, so we'll get a lot of that stuff done. I'll get that all recorded. But for the next month or so, it's hot like heck up here, guys. It's like 33 degrees Celsius, which is like 89 degrees Fahrenheit. And I'm not doing anything major. You can say I'm sweating now just talking. So
yeah,
I'll let you guys go. And again, if any questions, let's go through Barry, and he can always send me an email or something like that. But
sure.
Thank you all.
All right. We'll see you.
Thanks, Barry. Bye.
Bye. All right. So let's see. That was a pretty cool update from Wally there, letting us know what's going on with his project. And you know, there's always something to do, right? And he's got his hands in a variety of things. all throughout the call, which is just great. We have Mark commenting. He says, Barry and everyone, have y'all had good experience with John's Mustang from Houston, Texas? I have not dealt with John's Mustang, so I don't know. If anybody else has, please let Mark know. Leonard, I use lead on the sail panels. It's not hard. Just make sure you use a fan or respirator. I can understand that. I just haven't had any desire to play with the lead. I'm sure I could do it, but I don't know. Not really in my mind. Future Garage. Oh yeah, we're talking about plastic age, and kind of got off the rail from the. We were talking about bushings or something earlier. Yeah, I don't remember on the plastic age if there's different colors for different clearances. The one I used was always green. That's all I remember. But it's been quite some time since I've used plastic gauge. Let's see, Bob Hoosier, just reference to say in the ball. Okay. Let's see. I have a van. I should put those fans in under the seats. Yeah. No AC. Bob, for real clearance, the rod or main bearings needs to be installed and torqued up and then measured and compared to the crank measurements to get real specs. That's a good answer. Let's see. Oh yeah, Nick is commenting, replace your seat riser with a lower one, much easier than cutting up the seat. Yeah, I think he's looking at a combination of several things on that, Nick. Modifying the seat riser somewhat, and then modifying the seat as well. Joseph, so I bought American Auto Wire harness last week. Do any of you have the American Auto Wire crimpers I can borrow? So they require special crimpers? Because I know that on the kits that I put in years ago, now this was on a Camaro, or no, on the 55 Chevy I did. I don't recall any special crimpers needed, so I don't know if there's some difference there. Maybe we can get some information on that. Oh yeah. Yeah, I get you, Nick, but I think what he's trying to do a combination of things with those more modern style seats. They mount flatter, so the old style seat risers tapered back, and the modern stuff sits more square. So that's what I think he's trying to address that. And we have Randall checking in from Utah, and I want to say that, Randall, I have completed the video for your viewers project. And I may just upload that tonight yet and get that up, because I wanted to upload it yesterday, but we were running behind schedule with our trip to the lake, and I didn't get it edited last night. So I got it finished. I finished editing it. Did I say gotted? I hope I didn't say gotted. I finished editing it, and it's actually on. It's uploaded on YouTube right now, but I have not made it go live just yet. So Randall, that'll be coming up really soon. And if y'all would, whenever you see that, check it out. Randall's 67 Cougar Viewers Project. Pretty cool story on that one, and you'll like it. Okay, so yeah, Wally saying good call. Might not have to cut the seat perch. Okay. Infidel, Mark Cooper. I live just east of Houston. I've been to John's Mustang and spoken to John. Great guy. Never had issues. He price matched CJ Pony parts and saved me shipping on my full quarters. That's some good information. Now, of course, that's in Houston, so I know I couldn't probably save any money on shipping here to Georgia, but that's good to know, Infidel, and glad you can share that information. I'll push that up there one more time. That's cool. Good. Let's see. Oil fixer. American Auto Wire tool is called a barrel crimp tool. About $30 Hello from North Dakota. Well, oil well fixture, 71. Glad you're here. So $30 for a barrel crimp tool. I'm not sure if that's something I can't say that that would be limited to American Auto Wire. That should be a tool that should work on other things. So might be available on Amazon or something. I don't know. Maybe you could go on my Amazon page and find it and buy it. Let's see. KG bought from and got great service and help from John's Mustang. There's another bell for KG endorsing John's Mustang, so that's good. Let's see. Yeah, Infidel. Yeah, they're good people. He walked me into his back warehouse. He has a ton of Mustangs and used and new parts. Well, that is good. Guido. CJ is having a lot of issues. I hear it from dozens of Mustang followers on different Facebook sites. And I agree with that. I mean, I haven't had to order anything from CJ in a while, but I'm hearing that as well, that there's not meeting expectations, let's say. So KG, he explained much about difference between Dynacord and other manufacturers, and why some parts are sold as but not made by Dynacord. Yeah, I believe that. Let's see. Scott J. Highbury 73 Mustang project in Virginia. Have to replace the driver's seat riser, and it looks to be lower than a first generation Mustangs. Might be worth investigating for Wally's seat height issue. Yes, that is something else. I think we had talked about it before. That was it 69 and 70 and up. Seat risers are lower, I believe, than the early generations of Mustang. So I know a lot of people have been doing that where they'll get the riser from the later car and put it in because of that. So good information, Scott. Whoops, let me give you a better bell than that. As good as it gets. Joseph, yes, request a crimper that crimps a connector called a double barrel crimper tool. American Auto Wire wants $160 for both, which I find stupid. Okay, I would probably agree with that. That seems really high. I mean, there's got to be other companies that sell the tool. Yes, request a crimper. Huh. I'm sure somebody else makes that tool as well. Yes, Andrew, don't forget to hit the thumbs up. By all means, hit that thumbs up button. And, you know, it's kind of weird. I watched the, oh, let's see. We got Kevin watching from Japan. I'll give you a bell just for watching from Japan. Randall's thinking that Cougar seat risers are lower also. What was I going to say? Oh, yeah. You know, again, I'm over 40,000 subscribers. Really, I think I'm about to hit 41. And it always gets kind of, I don't know, I don't know what the word is. Viewership drops off over holidays. So the numbers, of course, from July 1st till yesterday are like, but it's understandable. People are going on vacation or out doing things. They're not worried about watching a YouTube video. So it's probably better that I didn't actually try to post something during that time period because it would have been overlooked. But anyway, just an observation. When I see those, it's kind of like, what's going on? But then I have to remember that people are doing other things, obviously. Leland points out, NPD sells lower seat risers, think they're 1 inch lower. Yeah, and I don't know if, again, I'm going to go back to the 69 and 70, I believe, have the lower seats in them. So it may be that that's their variation. You know, they may market it as a lower riser, but it could just be that it's for the 69 or 70. and sits down in there. Somebody can probably give some more information on that if they know. What else? There was something else I was going to mention. Oh, okay. Let's see. Joseph. So Barry, what will you be working on soon? Soon, and I mentioned this last week, and I did the abbreviated live stream on Thursday before we went to the lake, that I have some parts that have come in. This box is from TCI, and I showed this last time, but I'll show it again. I've got new stock height spindles. As a conversation was made with the owner, and I addressed this in the update video that I did on Brooklyn Pony. I'm trying to decide if I want to take care of the spindles first, or if I want to test fit the transmission and the cross member and all that other stuff. I'm kind of leaning towards taking care or test fitting the spindles, or getting these, back in, because the original, or the spindles that are in the car, are 2-inch drop. So by raising the spindle, you lower the car. Make sense? Okay. So anyway, I have these, and I've already compared these to the ones that are on the car. And I know there was some conversation from some people about whether or not the steering arm would be affected. But in looking at this and the way this is laid out, this is offset. So in other words, I can't grab that one and bring it out here because it's still attached to the car, but the arm sits in a different location on the other one. And I'll do a comparison video to show that. But anyway, so I need to get these in the car, and I may just go ahead and take care of it while it's on the lift so that it's done. And then what I want to do is test fit the transmission and get some measurements for the drive shaft and go from there. I still have to weld that cross member, so the engine has to come back out anyway. But I want to try to address a bunch of this stuff while it's on the lift and make that list shorter of things that need to be done. Now, of course, I know the owner is working on trying to resolve the brake pedal issue for the Willwood brake setup and the master cylinder, and whether it's going to have a booster and all that sort of thing. And I like the information that Wally gave us on the brake lines, because that may end up being something I use on the pony. So if Wally can give me some information on the part number, let's say, I'm sure it's an easy search on Amazon, but if he gives me the part number, I can probably list that material on one of my pages, one of my Amazon pages. So if anybody else wants to find it, it'd be a little easier to go that route. So let's see, Joseph, any Jade stuff coming up? I want to see paint on that bad boy. I want to see paint on that bad girl. Jade. It's Jade. It's a girl, right? Anyway, yeah, I want to see paint on it too, but in due time, trust me, in due time. I haven't gotten in a hurry on that car, and I don't plan to, but definitely can't wait to see Gulfstream Aqua, fresh coat of Gulfstream Aqua on that car. That thing's gonna look so good. Tell you what. Nick, I think a couple weeks from now when I'm not working, I need to go on live with you for a brainstorming session on some body work. I'm getting ready to tackle back to work for now later. All right, we'll see you, Nick. Yeah, it'd be great to have you on. KG, if that trans cross member might be a challenge from experience, the pan and back corners of trans case hit it. Yeah, that's what I'm kind of afraid of. So I don't know. I'll figure it out. I always do, one way or another. I'll figure it out. And hopefully this fits like it's supposed to, but if it doesn't, we'll go another direction. Seems to be the norm. If you use that spindle assembly, would you skip doing a Shelby drop? Well, this is on the Brooklyn Pony. It doesn't. You can't. There's no doing a Shelby drop on that. That's all that Mustang 2 suspension, and that's all this TCI kit is about right here. Is the Brooklyn Pony setup. Now, as far as doing it on a regular, like a regular Mustang and using a drop spindle, I don't think that's the results you were looking for. You'd want to. I think you're further ahead doing the Shelby drop, honestly. So, Joseph, wait, what car is on the lift? The Impala? No, the Impala's gone. Impala went bye-bye. Look, no Impala anymore. Got those door seals done and sent it on its way. No, the Brooklyn Pony has been on the lift for quite some time now. So, is that why TCI sells that one? Well, the kit that the owner bought is a 2-inch drop, the suspension kit. He bought the 2-inch drop kit. These are your standard height spindles. So after he thought about it for a while and thinking about the roads and everything up in New York, he doesn't want to have to deal with going into a pothole and bottoming out the car or something like that. So we're going to change direction, pull off the 2-inch drop stuff, put in the standard height, and then I'm going to reset the rear springs. There's 3 mount holes on the differential. There's 3 mount holes, and you can set the coilover shocks in one of those 3 holes. Well, if you do the 2-inch drop, you're supposed to put it in the bottom hole so that the body comes down, but reverse that, you put the shock in the highest point, and that's supposed to help get it squared up again. So get these spindles changed out and readdress or address the height in the rear, and that'll be better. Mark Cooper felt it is Performance Motorsports Fabrication. Okay, North Carolina. Yeah, Jade's a female. Come on. KG had to grind off case corners and dent cross member pipe for pain clearance. I don't like the sound of that. I'm not against, and I'll do whatever needs to be done. Honestly, I'm not against building my own cross member. If that's what it takes, I will. I don't want to have it. I don't want to be. I don't want to make it more difficult just because there's a product that's made that is supposed to fit, supposed to work. And I'll let you know, as I've said before, whenever I do this stuff, if I find a problem or a flaw or something that makes it more difficult or ridiculous to use, I will point it out. I will point it out because I don't like the fact that they're trying to do some things that are like one size fits all. This should work if you hold your mouth right. I don't want that. I want something that it goes together like it should and it comes apart like it should, and there's no conflict. So again, if I have to, I'll make my own and I'll send all that stuff back, and go a different route. Brian got all my paint from Summit, DTM primer 2K and metallic blue, almost ready to spray, still hammering out some wrinkles and hammering and hammering and hammering. Yeah. Yeah. You'll get there though. You'll get there. Just take your time. Randall, did I hear you mention a few episodes ago that you'll be installing a vintage air? Yes. In fact, if you are, well, let me see. I don't know how far I went back. The first vintage air system I put in was probably 2011, 12, maybe 13. I can't remember, but it was in a 68 Mustang coupe. I know I showed some modifications that I made for the AC bracket. I customized the vintage air AC bracket to work on that Mustang coupe. And I don't know that I filmed any of the installation of the box itself or the controls. I know I did something with the compressor. So I can't say for sure that there's already some video out there on that, but there is a partial, when I say partial, on the Jade Mustang, I have installed the compressor brackets, and there was a bunch of modifications I did to that as well with power steering and everything. So I kind of modified it and made it much, I'll say, more user-friendly for my purposes. So you might be able to look at some of that as well. But I do have the rest of the kit for Jade that needs to go in, obviously. And then there is a Jade or a vintage air kit for the Brooklyn Pony. And there's a front runner system that needs to be mocked up on the engine as well. So that'll come on down the line. Okay, so Leonard's checking out. And Guido, yep. Yeah, I'm glad to answer your question. You know, it can get confusing in some of the way this stuff is put together or whatever. And I understand his reasoning for going back to the standard height, and it makes sense to me. I know that whenever I was first putting everything together, and this was something that I'm not sure. Well, when I did the TCI drop setup and I put all that stuff in, and then I was putting in the Mustangs to Fear frame stiffeners. That was a big concern for me because I could not understand why or how the tires were interacting with that frame stiffener, because I was like, what is going on here? Up to that point, I had never had the car really on the ground. I mean, I didn't really look at it much. And then later on, I found out that it had that 2-inch drop, which affects a lot of things. And that 2-inch drop affects how the tires interact with the frame stiffeners. So at that point, I was like, ooh, I don't know if I would have done that. Well, thankfully, like I said, the owner has thought it over some more and is kind of correcting that, which I think is going to help a lot with the frame stiffeners, you know, so that it doesn't hit. Because I was concerned with that. But anyway, that'll be next up on the Brooklyn Pony. What else was there? Oh yeah, I don't know if you can see that. I modified this jack today. I usually have a friend on here, Butch, shows up. He had this jack on his Jeep and wanted it shortened because this jack, where's the, oh, there we go. Oh yeah, hold on. Apparently, you know, these jacks come in different heights or dimensions, whatever. And this thing is really tall. You'll never, well, I say never, but unless you're out doing some serious four-wheeling and you roll over your Jeep, it's unlikely you'll need this much height. And so he wanted it shortened up. So I cut this off today. And I did it with one of those, with the Bad Dog discs, the diamond disc, not the 4.5 inch, the Bad Dog tools, and did a pretty good job. That disc has been really good. I've used that for a ton of things, and you know, it took a little time, but yeah, well, this is an extra piece of folded on top. I know it's hard to see, but get the light right, maybe you can just see the reflection. Anyway, there's the top. So, so I need to let Butch know that he can come pick up his jack, and then I have another little project. I don't know if you've been watching or not. If you haven't, by all means, go check out the other channel, Joe Daddy's Workshop. I did a video where I built or rebuilt some deer feeders and used 1-inch square tubing, copied a design, And a buddy of mine, he saw those deer feeders after I was done. He's like, hey, wait a minute, I need some of those. And so he actually brought me some couple sticks of, well, you can see it over there on the ground, some 1-inch square tubing, and then I have some other pieces. So I'm going to end up at some point fabbing up another deer feeder, but this one will probably be, the first one was designed with a rectangular base, and it had trays or something that the guy had that attached into it. And my buddy Bubba, he wants me to make a feeder out of a 55-gallon plastic drum, and then put the bottom half on the into the base, and then maybe take the top half and see if we can't open it up and make it act as a roof. So that's just another fabrication thing to do. So yeah, but if you haven't, by all means, go check out the other channel. You know, I've been trying to get that channel to grow too, and it's, believe it or not, I started that channel January 1st of 2019, and that channel almost has 2,000 subscribers. Now, I know a lot of those are people that are already here, but there's been a lot of people just building up on that channel, and that's awesome. That's awesome. Jorge's here. Great. Glad you made it tonight. Yeah, but anyway, if you don't already know, the workshop channel is really just random stuff. Working on a lawnmower. I did reviews on some weed eaters and a little chainsaw, and fixed a go-kart, and what else was there? Lawnmower blades, you know, just stuff. In fact, I'm waiting for this video to go viral. I did a video making the ends on my Cat 5 cable. I wanted to show how that worked. So when I did that, I bought a kit from Amazon for these ends, and so I showed the tools that I used on that video, and apparently it works because we're on it right now on the laptop. And anyway, so if you're interested, go check out the other channel. Let's see, KG. I do enjoy your videos, and I've learned a lot about installing new body panels on a 65 Mustang. Was able to replace a quarter panel for the first time with just the tips from watching your channel. Awesome. That's fantastic. Let's see. Joseph, is the retiring thing happening? It's really, really close. Really, really, unless something dramatic happens that makes me change my mind. I'm 99.99% sure that I'm taking the retirement package. But a lot of that, really, honestly, I need both of these channels to get growth. Every little bit helps. Whether it's buying stuff off of Amazon. I've had people join, become patrons on Patreon, which is awesome. So every little bit helps in that building up that pie, to where I can afford to actually leave, but it's super close. Jorge, chair repair was cool. I'm trying to remember which one that was. Chair repair. I don't remember which one that was. Like I said, that channel it's a lot more random. It is not like car stuff. It is, it's all over the place. But, I pointed out, like the door threshold. I put the door threshold in on the garage here. That video is like almost like a viral video. It's gone crazy. Just tons and tons of views on that, and lots of people appreciate that video, because even when I did it, I'd never done a door threshold before, and I'm pretty savvy with stuff, but the instructions that came in the kit were horrible. And anyway, so I went through all the thought process like I normally do with all the stuff that I do, and got plenty of people thanking me for that because they didn't understand it. Anyway, yeah, you want to see jade painting videos? I want to make jade painting videos. I'll tell you that. Paint or bust. Yeah, I like that. Man, this thing keeps getting stuck. Wally with North. My bad. Just subscribed to Joe Daddy's Workshop. Thank you, Wally. Appreciate that. Joseph, just think the jade painting video will grow your channel more. You know what? You are absolutely right. 100% that whenever I get that stuff out, it's going to help. Just like I already know the next putting out any video on the Brooklyn Pony is going to get people watching. I already know that. I just have to get it made and get it out. So that's why I'll probably, because I'm not sure what the rest of this week is scheduled, but anyway, that's probably I'll take care of the spindles, get those done, and check that off the list. Guido, I guess is that, I'm not sure what you're responding to there. KG, fortunately my Dynacorn Taiwan panel fit perfectly without some modifications you had shown, the panel being too long. Good. I'm happy about that. Oh yeah. Oh, Jorge, you're talking about the cast iron. I think you're talking about the cast iron ornamental type chair. Yeah, that was kind of fun. And I think I explained it in the video that a friend of mine who does like home maintenance, home construction, home remodeling, it belonged to somebody he was working for, and they were, wanting to keep this thing. It was an old cast iron chair, bench thing. And so I thought, well, let's see if I can weld this together with the MIG, and I used the flux core and got it together, and they have it set up and using it. So, well, using it, it's a decorative piece, honestly. It's not something you're going to want to sit on routinely anyway. It's just meant for like holding plants, decoration type thing. Yeah, I know, Joseph. Believe me. Yeah, it needs to. Definitely needs to pay for my retirement. Guido, I want to make a PSA. Unisteer power rack unit sucks. Okay. The radius is terrible. Try to make a U-turn. Can barely pull it off. So anyone looking to buy it due to money, spend a little more on TCI or other. All right. I'll give you a bell for that. I don't have any experience with it, but I'll give you a bell for that. So Guido is recommending the TCI, which is the rack that's in the TCI setup is Borgeson, by the way. So I don't know who makes a Unisteer product or what the difference is, but the rack in the Brooklyn Pony TCI kit is Borgeson. Scott went to CJ in PA Saturday to pick up sheet metal. Said they opened retail store only a few days ago. Skeleton staff due to Corona treated me great, so maybe a little patience as we get through this junk. Okay. That would be nice. Now, if they could just open one in Atlanta, then I would be happy. Because I hate to order stuff and have it have a problem, send it back, get another one, send it back, I'd rather drive straight to their facility and pick up the pieces and hold them in my hands and look at them and go, this one's straight. I'm happy with it. I'm going to take this. So anyway. Guido, Scott, going in person makes a difference. Online, a different story. Yes, I agree. I'll give you another bell for that. Okay, let's see. Terrence, I'm making my wife watch this so that she understands. So she understands that my sickness is very common and entirely manageable with the proper garage space and tools. Well, I don't know. I'll say, hello, Mrs. Rucker. I'm happy that you're there supporting your husband in what he's doing. I'm happy to hear that because that's what makes good relationships is the wife supporting her husband and the husband supporting the wife both ways there. So you got to remember that, Terrence. Okay, so Dave Britton, not Brittain, Dave Britton is here checking in. Have you decided to go the other way yet, Dave? Have you decided to use the Dave Brittain yet? You can stick with the Britton. Joseph, dude, Google the Summit store. I want to go there so bad. Well, yeah, the Summit's right down the road from me. That way. About 40 minutes, maybe? Somewhere around there, 35, 40 minutes. Summit store. I can get there. Also, this is another thing. I have, not far from me is Atlanta Motor Speedway. Not that it's any big deal, but I don't live too far from Atlanta Motor Speedway. So let's see. Wally North, CJ North, need one in Ontario. Yeah. Yeah, I could see that. Let's see, Terrence. She says you're cute. Well, thank you. Thank you very much. Appreciate that. I still stick with the idea that I have a great face for radio, right? And how it goes. Oh, okay. So Joseph, it's in Arlington, Texas. It looks amazing. Yeah. Well, they have, I think, 4 Summit stores across the U.S., I think. But the one here, local to me, is in McDonough, Georgia. So, and I really enjoy going there just to walk around. I don't even care if I buy anything. I just like to walk around and look at stuff and dream. You know, I think I did a live video there once. I walked around, and I've had a friend. I should probably try to do that at some point. I have a friend who he's got a hot rod shop. I mean, he builds lots and lots of cars, and he'll do occasional reveals at Summit. And I should probably try to get in on that and just go down for one of the reveals they do at Summit. You know, help him out and also to you know, make some content. But anyway, let's see. Okay, so Dave says he will go with Brittain if he becomes a movie star. Well, you never know. Just never know. Could be that lost person that they need for some sort of a special TV show, right? Joseph, what does it look like? The one in Darlington, or sorry, the one in Arlington with all the awesome parts on display. Oh yeah. Well, I mean, you can go back and probably find it if you Google on my channel, Summit Racing. You can see the live stream. I mean, they've got drag cars hanging from the ceiling. They've got like a display of the old NASCAR. Well, I say old, probably 90s NASCAR bodies up on the wall, like they're racing around the corner. They got engines and everything, all kinds of stuff all over the store, and scratch and dent section. Just really a neat place to go and check it out. But I don't get there often enough, put it that way. Terrence, being here in the Northwest, I have a hard time getting sheet metal that isn't an arm and a leg with shipping. Any ideas? You know, that's a good question. I don't know. I don't know. Let me think here, because I haven't looked into it yet. I do have on my Amazon page, I do have links to sheet metal, various things. I have stuff for Camaro and stuff for Mustangs. I don't know for sure, you know, if you're with Amazon Prime, if they have free shipping on some of that stuff. I have not researched that. Might be an avenue you could look into and see if, you know, see if that helps you or not. Otherwise, I don't have a good answer for you. I will say, however, that I do have a contact. Let's see, Ron Wolf. I think he's got a Facebook page, Wolf Restorations or something like that, and it's I think I posted before in one of my feeds about him. He is a Dynacorn distributor. So I know he can drop ship stuff, but I don't know how price comparisons are. But check out the Amazon thing. Like I said, I've got a page listed. I don't know what the title is, but if you haven't seen it, you can go to my my YouTube channel, upper right corner. There's an Amazon link, and if you click on that, it takes you to my page. And then I think there's like, I have one listed for products that I use, and I don't know, there's a variety of groupings that I tried to put out there. So you might check into that and see if that helps. Chuck checking in from North Alabama. And Chuck, I recently sent you a sticker. I hope you got it. And thank you for the support, Chuck. Seriously, thank you very much. Joseph, that's cool. What's his channel? Now you lost me. Whose channel? I don't know which channel. Which channel are you referring to, Joseph? Yeah, Dave Britton says Summit Racing Store is a candy store for men. Yeah, it is. I just like going there. I know, and you know, the ours will do or had been doing car shows and stuff like every Friday or something like that. But I'm imagining that they've canceled all that because of the COVID stuff. Yeah, yeah. Check out the Summit. KG Terrence, buy order big truck freight parts at once, only one shipping charge. Well, there you go. That could be an easy answer. Terrence, just want to say that watching your channels give me the confidence to start from scratch with my 66 Mustang. Thanks for the awesome vids. Well, I'm glad you're going to be tackling your project. That's what I like to hear most, is that people are deciding that, hey, I can do something. I can be part of this process, and are stepping into it and getting stuff done. That's what I like to hear that. So I'm glad you're getting on board. Let's see. Well, there you go. KG says could also get a group of friends together, make one order together, and split shipping. That's a possibility. Yeah, Ron Wolf. Yeah, I think it's Wolf Restorations on Facebook, I think. But if you do contact him, which I put out his number before. Let me see if I don't know if I have him on. I don't know if I have his number listed or not. Okay. Let me just do a quick look, because if I have his number, I'll give it to you. If I don't, well, I don't. But let me see. And I don't. So, anyway, sorry. I thought I would have it. Scott, West Coast Classic Cougar in Oregon, and they have Mustang stuff as well. Might be close depending on where in Northwest they are. There you go. Oh, the guy that does reveals. No, he doesn't have a YouTube channel. He just has a shop. He's got like, I don't know how many buildings, but what is the name of his, Atlanta Restorations, I think is the name of his company. Pretty sure it's Atlanta Restorations. What's funny about it is, you know, we're friends because we have mutual friends, is how we became friends. And I've been to his shop once, and I follow him on Facebook. He always posts pictures of the projects going on at the shop, which is awesome. But what was funny, he told me that in his waiting room at his business, he has my videos playing in the waiting room for people to watch while they're there to get work done on their car by his shop. I'm like, okay, that's cool. I'll take it. Yeah, Terrence. I know he's on Facebook. I'm pretty sure it's Wolf Restorations. But get in touch with him and see what comes about. Yeah, Guido. I don't know about that. Let's see. WCC Cougar will charge FOB on sheet metal. Oh, okay. Okay. Anyway. Yeah, Ron Wolf. Whew. So we got 10 minutes left. We've got 51 people watching. If you, again, if you would, throw a thumbs up on there. Make sure you leave comments on the videos, stuff like that. It helps out with the whole thing. If you haven't, I'm sure, well, obviously you're here because you already know about the channel and stuff like that. But if you haven't checked out my other channel, Daddy's Workshop, check it out as well. There's a variety of stuff on there that's not car related, as I mentioned before. And I'm trying to think if there's something else I wanted to mention. There's a lot of things going on. And I was asked earlier about the, let's see. Yeah, let's see. Okay, Thomas Yaksich, right? I know you meant to put Joe there, not Roe, but as long as you've been doing body work, how do you keep yourself interested in the enjoyment of body and paint work? I really enjoy your work. I've learned a lot. Well, you know what? It's funny. I don't know why. Maybe it's I hate to use the word, but it is really an art form, in my opinion, to do body work and do it right. But I think there's just such a great satisfaction in taking something that is obliterated, rusted, junk, whatever, and piecing it back together and making it look as good, if not better, than when it was new. And just there's so much satisfaction in the details, because obviously I'm a very detail oriented person. I tend to focus on the smallest of things to make sure they're right and in place. But it just I don't know, it gives me such satisfaction to make things look right. And not everybody has that. Not everybody has that kind of mindset. A lot of people just they don't want to take those steps to make it perfect, let's say. And I can't say everything I do is perfect by any means, but if it's visually appealing and looks right, I'm happy. So, let's see. But anyway, I don't have an easy answer. I guess it's just because of the way my mind works that I'm always wanting to, I always want to make things right. And it doesn't really have to be even like car stuff. I try to make, if I'm fixing anything, I try to make it as right as I possibly can. And I think it's a lot of that goes into being an aircraft mechanic as well. Obviously there's a different level of mentality, let's say, in working on an airplane than maybe working on a car, because an airplane doesn't pull over to the side of the road and, get fixed. So you have to be a little more focused from that. But let's see. Yeah, BC's checking in. Glad you're here. Joseph brought a tear to my eye. My poor car needs me. Yeah. KG, Thomas, once you see the end result, you'll know the hard work was worth it. Yep, very true. And I've said it before, and I know this sounds weird, but I've said before, when I get done with a car, I'm done with the car. I'm like, bye. I don't need to be focused on that thing anymore. I'd rather see it go down the road and get enjoyed and whatever. And I don't necessarily ever need to see it again. I want to see the next one roll in that's in worse shape and tackle it and try to get it back on the road and straight again. And, I made a comment years ago, and people have still mentioned that in my mind, I feel like I can fix just about anything. And I've said again, years ago in one of my videos, I think I mentioned that I feel like I could save the Titanic if I had enough time and materials, but not everybody thinks that way. Face for radio, voice for radio. Have you ever heard your own voice, like on a phone messenger or something like that, and ask, who is that? No. Well, the joke is, Boondocker, when you say you have the perfect face for radio, that's an expression meaning you're not a very good looking person, but you got a good voice. And I don't know if I have the very best voice out there, but that's the joke, is you say I have a great face for radio because nobody would see it. But yeah, I mean, anymore, honestly, I mean, you guys hear me talk on my videos, you see my videos, whatever. You think you've heard me a lot. Well, imagine me editing my own videos and taking hours of time to get those, all the little sequences right. I'm hearing myself talk constantly, and now I don't even notice. I mean, I'm like, who is this guy? I just, why does he keep talking? But anyway, yeah, Dave, can't do it right, don't do it at all. Yeah, Harvey, my love for storing old things started with bikes when I was probably about 6. Yeah, yep. I know for me, I don't know. I'll say I've really started off as mechanic, doing mechanical things, but I seem to like I like bodywork more. I really do. And we had an expression at the body shop, and it was basically like everybody wants to do body work until they do body work, and then they never want to do body work. So it takes a special kind of mindset, I think, to want to be, doing body work regularly. Terrence, nothing more frustrating than crappy body work. There's a lot of it around. If it's worth doing it right. Agree with the AC mechanic mentality. My father had it as well. Yes. Yeah, it's a different mindset. I mean, when you start thinking about it as an aircraft mechanic, that literally, you are putting hundreds of or thousands of lives in your hands by what you're signing off and what you're doing. That has a whole different level of responsibility than, working on somebody's car, where if nothing else, if all else fails, they can, run it into the ditch or something. But it's just a whole different level when you're working on airplanes. Boondocker, you sound better than that. I'll have to take your word for it. Bob, I always say I work on stuff and fix it like I would if it was mine. Yes. I've had that conversation with people before, and it was even at the body shop. If I was doing restoration work on somebody's car, and we had this several times where somebody brought in a classic Camaro or whatever, and I started working on it. And I'm doing my thing, and they keep coming and checking, or they drive by and look at it or try to get involved. And I would say, look, you don't need to worry. I'm going to build this car like it was for me. That's all you need to know. If I was, I'm not going to build it any less than if it was my car. And then they'd see some of my work and they would go, okay, I don't need to be here. And they would leave. So, anyway, let's see. Brian tried to straighten out a kink 69 VW Fender. Ain't going to have any hair left, but I'll be happy when done. I'll bet you will be. And Brian, if you want to really see some mangled fenders, go back and look at the 35 Dodge truck videos that I did years ago. Now, I didn't show any like real action stuff, but go back and look at that 35 Dodge truck. You want to talk about some fenders that were beat to death, literally. And you can't just go buy those fenders. And that truck, the front bumper, it was gone, and they were using it to push things with the frame rail sticking out and the fenders being bashed on whatever they were pushing. The fenders actually cracked in half and had been welded together and then cracked. I rebuilt those fenders like piece by piece by piece by piece and got them back into the original shape. So if you haven't, go check out that 35 Dodge. That'll give you some insight as to some serious work on that. Hey, Kevin, glad you're here. And let's see. Joseph, my dad took the early out. He worked at American, was about to retire. No, I do not, Joseph. I won't. I'm not going to respond. Anyway, yeah. Let's see. KG, see lots of cars and trucks with great looking paint, but body wasn't ready. Such a waste to rush into painting without the hard work of getting the body ready first. 100%. You know, that's one thing. It was always kind of a little bit irritating to me because, and I'm going over my time limit, but, you know, like I would do all the body work on a car and get it straight as an arrow. And then my partner would paint it, and he'd lay out a really nice paint job. You know, you cut and buff and make it, shine, and it would never fail. And it's normal. It's normal mentality that people would look at that and say, "Oh, who painted that car? Who painted that car?" And I would think, well, it doesn't matter who painted it. If you don't have the body work right, you can be the best painter in the world, and that car will never look good. You can lay out perfect paint, but if the body's not right, forget it. So to me, the question is, who did the body work on that car? That's more telling, in my opinion, because, just the way I look at it. Dave, I've never used an English wheel, but would that not be a great way to fix a VW fender? Well, it's very possible. I've used an English wheel for a few things, and I would say with the right fixtures in the English wheel, you could probably do a lot of massaging on the shape of the VW fender. Maybe. All right. Chuck Cooper, Barry, can you point me to any of your Mustang videos that might cover rear fender apron replacement? Thanks. Let me think here. That's a good question. If I have any of those, I can't remember. I've done that repair, but I don't know that I have any videos on it. I've done it before I was making videos. I was doing Mustang work prior and not filming stuff. Let's see. I don't know if I did that on the light blue Mustang or not, because I replaced the firewall on the light blue Mustang, the cowl, side kick panels, full floor pan. But honestly, I don't remember if I did the rear aprons or not. Otherwise, the Jade Mustang has one-piece aprons that are, since the shock towers cut out, I went with the one-piece Dynacorn stuff. I don't know for sure, because I know I didn't do it on Mystique. I did the front aprons on Mystique, and the Jade, I think the rears were okay. I can only think maybe I did it on a light blue Mustang in that series, but I can't remember for sure. Sorry. KG, can't polish a turd. That is correct. Yep. Yeah, no problem, Joseph. Dave, you get a ding for the who did the bodywork question. Yeah. Seriously, though. I mean, like I said, I'm not saying anybody can spray paint, but honestly, I can paint. I just don't like to paint. It's just not my thing, I like doing all the body work and making it straight. But the fact that I can paint, and again, I'm not trying to belittle anybody who paints normally. You know what I mean? Anybody who does it on a daily basis, they're naturals at it. You know, they can see and feel the flow and all that stuff. They're naturals at it. I'm not, I would say, natural at painting, but I also look at it like, if I can figure out how to spray paint, then a lot of people should be able to figure out how to spray paint. You know, it's about trigger control and, you know, angles and all that sort of thing. But again, I'm not saying I'm by any means the world's best painter. I just say I can paint, and I would rather be welding stuff together than painting. But I can. I understand the concept. I understand the tools. But anyway, body work is more important, the way I look at it. Yeah. Okay, Chuck. Yeah, check out the light blue Mustang. I can't remember for sure, but I know I did it on another Mustang years ago at the body shop. But yeah, I can't remember for sure. You know, it's funny. I've mentioned this, I think, before. I've done so many videos now. I'm well over 500 videos, probably close to 600 videos between the two channels. And you know, you've done a lot of videos and a lot of different things whenever you're searching for an answer for something, and the answer is one of my own videos popping up. I've had that happen a couple of times. I was searching for something, I forget what it was, and I typed in blah 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 into Google, boom, and it said, you know, here's a video, blah blah blah, and I'm like, oh, click, oh yeah, I did that 8 years ago. Let's see. Okay, Brian, I saw that, Barry. I watched all your videos, some several times. Not a straight spot on those old VW's. English wheel would be great, but don't have one yet. So use the word yet. I like that. M1M, can you use an HVLP system? Well, I use an HVLP gun normally to paint with. I have currently the latest one that I've been using, or I've used, I really like this, is this Black Widow gun that I've shown, or some primer stuff with. I like this gun. Feels really good in the hand. But yes, can use HVLP, and that's what I've been using. So let's see. Oh, that's a tough name there. Would it be a J or Y? Yisan Maran? The alternator belt on my 2006 Toyota Senna gets shredded, and the AC would make squeaking noise. Any idea what the issue could be? Well, gets shredded. That's a good question. You could have some variables in there. I have seen where the tensioner pulley fails, the bearing fails, or the internal section of the tensioner pulley will fail and allow the belt to kind of wobble or wear sideways. So you might want to check your tensioner pulley, see what condition that's in. And then you're saying also the AC would make squeaking noises. Well, you could have a bad compressor. You could have a bad compressor that is shredding the belt. So hard to give you a good answer on that, but the first step is to check that belt tensioner and see if it's good and see if the pulley's spinning freely, you know, from there. And I was thinking I did, okay, so alternator belt. So I'm assuming it has a full serpentine belt. I'm assuming 2006, that makes sense. It shouldn't have a separate belt. I know some have a separate AC belt. My daughter's Kia Sportage has a separate AC belt. But anyway, check that pulley first and see what condition it's in. Yeah, you're welcome. I don't know if he's talking about the hot turbine. I think if he just mentions HVLP, I'm going to automatically think one of these. So, let's see. All right, we'll see you, Brian. Glad you're here. Yeah, I got to get off and get in the house. Joseph, I got some electric cutouts yesterday. Can't wait to get them installed. The cops will be looking for me. How many neighbors will help me? Help me or hate me? The guy across the street has a Harley, so I need something loud. Boondocker, somehow I got about 10 minutes behind the live stream, so my input makes me sound stupid. Sorry. That's all right. That's all right. All right. And again, I don't know if that's, I want to say Yisan. Is that correct? Yisan Moran? I don't know how else to say that. Besides, anyway. All right. So Terrence, got to go. Keep up great work. Tell your wife I said good night. Have a good night. Enjoy your evening. Good night, Mrs. Rucker, wherever you are. Okay. All right. So I'm going to call it a night. It's been great. This has really been fun having Wally on here talking about what he's got going on with his 68 convertible project. And again, having these questions and answers and comments and all that stuff come up is great. If you would, again, throw a thumbs up on the video, leave a comment, whatever, help the channel grow, subscribe to the other channel, go hit up my Amazon page, buy stuff from there if you're going to do it. And that helps me out as well. And so everybody else is checking out, saying good night. Well, you too. Yeah. All right, Joseph, you have a good night too. Yeah. Thanks, Dave. Glad you were here. 68 Sang, Reese, glad you were here. And we're going to call it a night. So I'm going to close out. Wait, got a couple more comments. All right. See you, Chuck, Wally, Jorge. We'll see y'all. I'm probably going to do this again, Thursday afternoon. So we'll go from there. All right. See ya.